Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome back to Sugar and Spice. We are back once again with two wonderful stories.
Yes, this time we have come up with two stories from one from Greek mythology and the other from Hindu mythology, both about two extraordinary women.
It's very interesting stories. We don't want to give more away with
Correct.
description, so let's get started. The first one, over to you, Deepthi.
Yeah, so thanks, Rija. So, this story is from Greek mythology, as I mentioned, and it is about this character called Medusa. She was one of the most hideous and frightening creatures who would turn into stone. Anybody who would look at her would turn into stone. And she had venomous snakes for hair. She was so scary looking and frightening, and nobody dared to go next to her. Many heroes have tried to kill her as it would add to their glory. But Medusa wasn't always like this. In fact, she was the total opposite. She was very beautiful. Medusa was the daughter of two sea deities, and she had two sisters too. Now, both these sisters were goddess, but she was a mortal, means she was a human. And when she was a very little girl, from then she was a charmer. She was a very pretty girl, and wherever she went, people would admire her. She was that beautiful. She had, other than her sisters, she had a childhood playmate whose name was Iphiclus. She had a very happy childhood. But as she grew up, Iphiclus grew so fond of her, and eventually, when she came of age, Iphiclus confessed his love for her. But Medusa had other plans. She was a great devotee of goddess Athena, and her mission in life, her aim in life, was to become a priestess of goddess Athena. The main condition for anyone to become a priestess of goddess Athena was the chastity and the virginity which the goddess herself glorified so much. And Medusa was more than ready to follow everything, whatever was required of her, to be a priestess and to be at the service of her favorite goddess. In fact, when she was a child, she even used to act out as if she was goddess Athena herself. That was the kind of fan girl that she was, and she was always, so fascinated by goddess Athena. So as she grew up, she had decided she became a priestess, and when she started doing her ceremonies at the temple of goddess Athena, she became so popular among everyone who used to visit that temple. In fact, it was more because of Medusa's beauty and to see her and to admire her that people started coming to the temple more than to worship the goddess. Now, this news slowly even reached the goddess Ba. She heard one devotee of hers specifically saying that he was a gullible man, and he said, her hair, Medusa's hair, is even more beautiful than goddess Athena herself. Now she started getting envious of her own priestess, her own devotee. So, but she tried not to do anything against her. But there came a situation where she had to protect her devotee, but she did not. It so happened that Medusa was taking a stroll on the seaside. She was walking on the seashore. That is when the god of the sea, Poseidon, spotted her. Now, Poseidon already had uh, an enmity towards goddess Athena because of they had so many differences in the opinion, and also the main reason was The city of Athens was named after goddess Athena, for which god Poseidon had, was very angry for it. He had actually wanted the city to be named after him. So that rivalry was there in his mind. And also, he had heard that, something was disturbing goddess Athena about her faithful priestess. He didn't know what it was exactly, but when he saw this girl, he looked at her and he was so enchanted by her beauty that he lusted after her. And he also thought of it as an opportunity to take his revenge against goddess Athena. He made advances towards Medusa, first in a gentle way, using his charm and his personality, magnanimous personality that he had. Medusa was a bit attracted too, but soon she realized the importance of her chastity and her, that she could not afford to fall in love with any man. She immediately withdrew herself and she politely refused Poseidon's advance. But Poseidon wasn't, he had no intentions to leave her. So he started using force, and to which Medusa had no other go, but she had to push him away, and she ran into the temple of goddess Athena, which she thought was the safest place she could be. She went to the altar and bowed down and said, "O goddess, please protect me." She went and she started praying to the goddess. She saw Iphiclus running towards her and asking her what the problem was. But that is when Poseidon walked in. Iphiclus was no match for the very, very strong sea god. He just pushed him away and went ahead and had his way with her. Once he was finished, Medusa sat there crying and completely shattered. She had lost something that she had treasured her whole life. Goddess Athena appeared. She saw Medusa and realized what had happened. She blamed Medusa for all that had happened, because blaming God, Poseidon, was out of question. He was, after all, the sea god, and the women are always victimized, right? And they are the ones who always get the blame. So similarly, Medusa was blamed of all that had happened to her, and in rage, Athena cursed her. The hair that she had always been a little envious of, Medusa's lovely hair, she turned it into venomous snakes, and her eyes, if she would lay her eyes on anyone, that person would turn into stone. She cursed her thus, and she turned into this very, very fierce, scary looking monster from that moment onwards. After this, as she moved into a quiet, dark corner so that nobody sees her, she was sitting there and weeping when Iphiclus walked in. He saw her and he went close to her to comfort her. She said, "Don't come near me." But before that, Iphiclus came and touched her shoulder, and one of the snakes bit him. She turned to see what had happened to her friend, looked into his eyes, and he turned into a statue made of stone. She hugged the statue and started to cry. She was so shattered. She just couldn't understand what was happening. She did not want to harm any more people, so she decided that she would go into a hiding, and she ran out of the temple into the forest. Inside the forest, she found a place, an old temple, which was previously it was a temple of goddess Athena, but Right now, they were only it was in ruins, and she found shelter there. Many people had seen her running, so the news had already started to spread about this fearful creature. And many heroes, many of them tried in their own ways to find her out and get her head to add to their trophies. So, but this did not happen. Every time they would face her and they would turn into a stone statue. And this went on for a long time. And slowly, Medusa started turning into this, remembering her olden days where she used to be the priestess, and started praying to Goddess Athena again and performing all the rituals as she used to do earlier. Life was going smooth. She was trying to forget what had happened, but fate struck her again. Perseus, the son of Zeus, had taken the help of all the gods, taken different weapons from different gods, and was determined to see the end of Medusa. Even Goddess Athena had given him the powerful shield which would reflect his, if he would go next to her, and if by any chance she was behind him, he could see her reflection. And he was also given a very, very powerful sword. Now he reached the temple, he reached this old temple, and when Medusa heard his footsteps, the beast in her came alive again, and she just tiptoed to kill him. But before that, he saw the reflection, and using this very, very powerful sword, he beheaded her. And he took the head of Medusa to Athena and kept it at her feet. And it is the irony of the whole thing is all these things were glorified, in some of the parts where I heard the stories, in some of those, explanations, they have even said that it was because Goddess Athena wanted to free her from this dreadful life that she had, that she plotted to bring her death. And also that she had kept Medusa's head on her shield in memory of Medusa, her most faithful servant and priestess. But I don't think any of these is any kind of justification to the terrible fate that she had to face for absolutely no fault of hers. That was the most terrible thing which I felt about this story. In the case of Medusa, her beauty, her charm was her curse. And another thing which the story tells us is even gods are not immune to such feelings as jealousy and envy, So that was what fascinated me about the story, and that's where Medusa's story ends.
It's one of my favorite stories. I've always been fascinated, as you said, by this particular one. And also it's like Diti said, a kind of reflection on how something which should have been a blessing can turn out to be a curse.
Yes.
So that's really very interesting.
And after something so terrible happens to you, and then you are cursed for that, not the person who has caused that tragedy.
Exactly.
So that's very, very ironic. I think some of the things in mythology, it's always debatable. And again, these Medusa story itself, I'm sure there are so many versions to it. So this was one version which I picked up. I hope you all liked it. Thank you so much.
Lovely story.
Now, over to the second story, without any introduction. Over to you, Shrija.
Okay. This one is from Indian mythology, in Hindu mythology to be a little more specific. And it's also a story of a woman. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this name, Tilottama. And when you hear the name Tilottama, you immediately think of a woman with wondrous beauty, beauty unparalleled. And that's the story that I'm going to narrate to you today. And there's a little, before you get into the actual story, The narration is supposed to have been done by sage Narada. Now, this story has been picked from one of our great epics, Mahabharata. And this particular story, as you all know, Mahabharata is a story with so many stories, interrelated, stories, sub-stories, very complicated and very, very modern work, you could say. But today's story, which is of Tilottama, was narrated by Narada to the 5 great warriors, the Pandavas. Of course, the Pandavas, the story of the Pandavas is again a very long one, that's for another day. But here, many of you are already familiar with the story of the Pandavas and the fact that they shared a wife, the beautiful, breathtakingly beautiful Draupadi, who was called Panchali. Once she had them as 5 husbands, so she was called Panchali, or the woman with 5 husbands. And when they were at this particular threshold, it says Narada spoke to them and told them the story of Tilottama. And he did this because he wanted to tell them that they had to be very careful that one wife that the 5 of them shared should never come in between their love and their strength and their affection for each other. So now that I've set the introduction, I move on to the story. There was this terrible Asura. His name was Nikumbh. But the story isn't about him. It's about his 2 sons, Sund and Upasund. Now, these 2 Asura boys grew up into terrible warriors. When I say terrible, powerful as well as terrible. They were evil, all right. But what was really wonderful, you could say, about the 2 of them was that they were very, very close. They did everything together. They shared anything they had. They ate together, they slept together, they had fun together. So they were inseparable. So the kind of affection the 2 brothers had for each other was something that was talked about. And this naturally made them more powerful as well. So when they went around fighting the gods, fighting the good people, it was like evil had, its way around, because they were very powerful, the 2 of them together. Now they wanted to get even more powerful. So they decided to pray to Lord Brahma. And for this, they went to the Vindhya mountains and they went into very rigorous meditation. So when you speak of rigorous meditation, it meant balancing on one leg with your hands held up in prayer and without moving, no food, no water. And we are not talking about days, we are talking about years of penance. And they prayed so hard. This penance was such a difficult one that their bodies started sending out heat, unbearable heat, which started scorching things around them, and not even scorching their surroundings on earth, but even the heavens. The gods became restless. They couldn't sit because of the power of their prayers. So they were praying to Lord Brahma. So the gods got together and went to Lord Brahma and said, "Dear Lord, please do something about your devotees, because we can't sit like this. Their prayers are too powerful for us." Because as we all know, gods are fed by our prayers. So Lord Brahma said, "Okay, I'll put an end to it." And so he appeared in his beautiful form, his heavenly form, in front of the 2 brothers, who stopped praying and granted them, as gods normally do, granted them a boon. He said, "I'm very happy with your penance for me. So ask me, what would you like? I'll give you a boon." So the 2 brothers had already planned it before. So they said, of course we want to be very powerful, but the main thing is, bless us with immortality. We want to live forever. So Lord Brahma looked at them kindly and said, "You are powerful warriors. You may become even more powerful as you wish, but I cannot grant you immortality. That's not something that even a god can give." So these brothers were very, very cunning as well as clever. So they told him, "Okay, make it so that no one can harm us but each other. So it's only if we turn against each other that the brother gets killed. So Sund and Asund can be killed only by each other and not by any other power, not here on earth, not in the heavens above." So Lord Brahma had to say yes, because it was a boon after all and they had earned it with their severe penance. And so he said, yes, okay, so be it. Then you can imagine what happened after that. The two brothers were lost in their power, the new power that they had, because they knew that they wouldn't hurt a hair on the other's head. They were that close. So they went around invading every possible place they could. They killed, they won over places, they ruled almost the whole of earth, you could say, and they even went into the heavens. They started driving away the gods from their palaces and from their the places that they lived in, and the gods were terrified. They couldn't do anything. No weapon would kill them. No weapon could even hurt them or harm them. So again, they did the only thing that they could. They went to Lord Brahma and said, Lord, this is the result of your blessing, so please do something, because we cannot survive like this. You have to help us out. So Lord Brahma thought about it and said, okay, I'll do something. Go, you all of you can go back and keep me in your prayers. I'll do something about it. So what he did was he called the divine architect, Vishwakarma. And Vishwakarma was known to create things that no one could even think of, things which were wondrous, even things which were magical. So he called him and told him, I want you to create a woman. Create a woman who is so beautiful that no one can resist her. That is what you have to do for me, he said. So Vishwakarma agreed, and he went about collecting the best gems that he could, precious stones from everywhere, all the three worlds, the heavens, the earth and the netherworld. And he put together all sorts of fine ingredients, the best that he could find, and he created this beautiful creature, a woman of unparalleled beauty. She was called Tilotama. Now when you look at the name, there are two Sanskrit words, Tila and Uttama. Tila is as tiny as a sesame seed, okay? And Uttama is the best or the finest. So in other words, a being who was the finest that could ever be. Every little bit or particle of her was perfect. So you can imagine the kind of woman that Vishwakarma had created. Voluptuous, beautiful, milky complexion, lovely eyes, hair flowing right down, and her looks were so powerful in a wonderful way that even the gods were disturbed looking at her. Yes, no one could resist her. Now when she came to Lord Brahma, Vishwakarma presented her and told her, okay Lord, I've done what you've asked me to do. So Lord Brahma thanked him, and when Vishwakarma had left, he told her, now you have a job for me to do, Tilotama. It's your job to go and create discord between these two Asura brothers, Sund and Asud. So Tilotama agreed and left for a mountainside where the brothers were feasting and having fun, because they were winning over any land that they went to, and they had slaves, they had all the wealth that they could dream of, and they were so happy. And so they were lost in drink. Liquor was freely pouring around, and they were up to their brim with wine. They had beautiful women dancing for them, and while they were busy with this, Tilotama appeared before them. And in a very innocent way, she went around plucking flowers in a garden nearby. Looking at her, when the two brothers saw her there, they were lost, as was expected. They couldn't take enough of her beauty. She was so beautiful, voluptuous, and they approached her, hoping to win her hand in marriage. They wanted to marry her. But when the brothers discovered that both of them had similar intentions, well, that wasn't going to happen. So Sund told Sund that, no, I'm going to marry her. I love her. His brother said, how can you say that? I love her too. And it is said that each of the brothers held on to either arm of this wonderful, beautiful Apsara or celestial nymph, and they fought over her. Maybe like children fighting over a toy. and things got so bad that they started attacking each other. And the result was known. The brothers killed each other, and Tilottama went back to Lord Brahma, her duty having been done. The gods rejoiced, the heavens rejoiced, earth rejoiced, because these two brothers who could never have been defeated ever were finally defeated. And how? By the beauty of a woman. And it is said that Lord Brahma blessed her and gave her the freedom to move around as and when she pleased. But there is just one thing. He said, your beauty is so powerful that no one who looks at you will be able to see you in your complete beautiful form. So you're safe to move around, because if that happens, then you will not be able to live. So it is said that she moves around freely. This beautiful, you could say, maybe I can't help thinking that this would be, she isn't really human, because she was created by the celestial architect Vishwakarma. Yes, at the same time, more beautiful than any celestial nymph, any immortal nymph. So many lovely apsaras we remember, Urvashi, Ramba. There are so many of them. So Tilottama is supposed to be even more beautiful than any of them. So that's the story. In fact, I'd like to add a little, a very interesting story that I found. It said that, like I told you, the gods except Lord Brahma were not, they were also disturbed by her beauty. And it is said that when she went to greet Lord Shiva, who was seated with his wife Parvati, and when she bowed to him and then went around him in respect, Shiva was so caught up by her beauty, but he couldn't look at her because he was seated with his wife. So it is said that he sprouted heads, two at the side and one at the back, to see her as she circled him. Yes, so that's one of the a lot of little interesting stories if you really go deep into the Mahabharata. But thing is, here it's the beauty of a woman that was used, only the beauty of a woman, to bring two great warriors down to nothing. So that's the story of Tilottama.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so a very different one.
Yeah, both about women, but see how different.
Yeah, so how it can be a blessing, beauty can be a blessing, and it can be a curse, and it's something we can relate to even today, right?
Very
so
true,
these
very
are
true.
stories. When you look at mythology, all the stories are very, very close to, they are stories of women who actually live now. Not just women, of course, but today we happen to speak about two of them.
Yeah.
So Medusa and Tilottama.
Hope you all enjoyed both the stories.
Yes.
And we enjoyed telling them and listening to each other.
Yes, it was great
Absolutely,
fun.
yeah.
So we'll be back with more.
Until next time.
Yes.
Bye-bye from
Bye.
Shizan.
Bye from Shiva
Bye.
and Spice.
Bye-bye. See you all.